I want to welcome everybody today to the first meeting of the House Human Relations and Aging Committee. I'm your MC. Before we get started, I'm going to ask Representative Rick Jaspers to lead us in a moment of prayer.
Bow our heads, please.
All right, we've got a little organizational stuff to do, and then we're going to hear House Bill 86. And so, first of all, I want to remind committee members you were sent a contact sheet. If you would get that to Misty as soon as possible. I also want to apologize for the mistake on the announcement that was put on your desk today. That was inadvertent. It should have been 3:30 instead of 1:30. I'll take the blame for that. Buck stops here. What I'd like to do now is we have some new members on the committee, and what I thought we'd do is we would go around. We will start up there with Representative Fry and come this way. So if you would tell us who you are and what you represent, what district you represent, and then we'll get started. Representative Fry.
I'm Spencer Fry, represent the 118th, and that's Athens.
All right, Representative Petraeus.
I'm Jesse Petrie. I represent
Petrie.
District 166, which is the coastal part of Chatham and Bryan counties. I am an entrepreneur in the home care and assisted living world, so I've been involved with aging for over 25 years. Thank you.
Representative Bell, excuse me.
Hi everyone, I'm Simone Bell, State Representative for House District 58. I serve here in the city of Atlanta, all of Fulton County. Thanks.
Representative Elam.
I'm Darrell Elam. I'm a retired Marine officer, independent businessman. I have a human resources management degree. I don't know what value that's going to be 40 years ago, sir, but it's good to be here. I represent Southwest Georgia, Doherty County, Albany.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Sandra Scott. I represent District 76 out of Clayton and Henry County.
All right, Nick.
I'm State Representative Rick Jaspers from Jasper, Georgia, House District 11. It's either an hour and a half or 4 hours, just up 5:15 if you wonder where that's at. Second term on this great committee. Enjoy working on it because the majority of the population of the North Georgia mountains is full with people who have this concern, and I sure appreciate it.
Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Tom Kirby, District 114, Loganville. I have part of 4 counties: Walton, Barra, Gwinnett, and Rockdale. I guess still serving as Vice Chairman of this committee this session.
I'm Tommy Benton, and I represent House District 31, which is a large portion of Jackson County. And let's see, we got
16.
Yes, gotcha.
Valerie Clark, and I'm from Gwinnett. I represent Lawrenceville and Swanee.
Representative Bruce.
Representative Roger Bruce. I represent District 61, Fulton County, Douglas County, and Cobb County.
All right, we have a few more members that are on the committee that were not able to make it today because of conflict. Either they're presenting a bill or on another committee. Looking out over the audience, I see a lot of familiar faces, but I see some folks that I haven't seen in the meeting before. If you're brand new to a Human Relations Aging Committee meeting, if you would stand up and introduce yourself. Brand new.
Thank you. My name is Charlotte Jackson. I'm Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Resource Prosecutor for the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, and I have been working with
Anyone else? All right, thank y'all for being here today. If you are requesting to speak, if you would come over here and sign up on the sign-up sheet over here. And since I am presenting this bill, I'm going to ask Representative Kirby to come preside over the meeting. Oh, one other thing we got to do. In your folder, there is a list of rules for the committee. Would like for you to look over these, and if you have questions about them, if you would come back to me at the next meeting, and we will adopt them then. These are the rules that we had last year, and I don't know if there's any reason to change them, but if you see something that you have a question about, we will go over it at the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, well, this time we'll call on Chairman Benton to present the bill. This will be House Bill 86, LC 371870ER. Is that the correct one? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I want to present to you today House Bill 86. This is a bill that has been worked on for quite a long time and by quite a few people, and it is something that we feel like that is necessary today in the state of Georgia because of what is happening to the population of our state. That we are getting older, and there's some things that need to be done right for the state, for this group in this state, for this group of people. What I'd like to do is go over the bill very quickly, and then I would like to call on Dr. Jay Ballott to come up to the podium to answer any questions that you might have. He is here to answer questions for us. The bill, as bills go, is not very long, but I want to go over each section with you fairly quick so that you'll know exactly what's in there. In Section 1, we talk about the aging population facts. Most people don't realize that Georgia has the 11th fastest growing population in the United States of individuals 60 years of age or older. Georgia has the 10th fastest growing population in the United States of individuals 85 years of age or older. And Georgia's population of individuals 60 years of age and older is expected to increase by 65% from 2010 to 2030. I don't know about y'all, but I'll be part of that group. I'm already part of the group of number one there. In Section 2, we have our definitions that we need to add to code in order to make the legislation work. What we're doing is we are changing the Division of Aging Services to the Georgia Adult and Aging Services Agency. And so we need to make some changes in code in order for this to happen. We're going to have a 7-person board to oversee. These members are appointed by the governor, the speaker, and the lieutenant governor. The governor has 3 appointments. The speaker and the lieutenant governor each have 2. They, in turn, will appoint a director. The board will also appoint its own presiding officer. All of those things are in there as to how that is going to take place. And we are going to assign the agency to the Department of Community Health for administrative purposes only. In Section 3, we're going to transfer all contracts, personnel, and property. So it's a lateral move. In Section 4, we're going to designate the Georgia Adult and Aging Services Agency as responsible for the planning and administration of services under the Older Americans Act of 1965. In Sections 5, 6, and 7, we're going to be deleting the Department of Human Services and replacing with agency. In Section 8, we're going to be deleting all mention of the Division of Aging Services and Variants and replacing with Georgia Adult and Aging Services Agency. In Sections 9, 10, 11, and 12, long-term care ombudsman statutes, deleting Department of Human Services and replacing with agency. We have an effective date. And then in Section 14, all regulations in conflict are repealed. There is one change that I'm going to ask the committee to make in just a minute. Did not catch this until after had dropped the bill on the last page, page 9, on lines 81 and 281 and 282. We have to change the word human to community and services to health. Now, Dr. Blott, if you would come up.
Community health.
Thank you.
If you would, first thing, state your name and who you're with and who you're representing here
I'm
today.
Dr. James Bulott, and I'm the director of the Georgia Division of Aging Services.
Go ahead.
He is here to answer any of your questions. He is not here to give an opinion, just to answer any questions that you might have.
You just press your button in there and
Dr. Bulott, good to see you. I want to let everybody know beforehand, I've had the opportunity to work with the Division of Aging for, I guess, 25 years as an entrepreneur in the long-term care world, dealing with home and community-based services. So I have a long history with Division of Aging Services and have seen how it has evolved over the years. So I was really, I'm a freshman here in this chamber and a freshman on this committee. But I have to tell you, as I mentioned to the chairman, when I saw this bill, I was thrilled because I have seen, after many years of working with the division, I've seen kind of the evolution that has taken place. We have, it appears that so many other issues are taking precedence. We've had so many issues with children, so many that are so important, but they seem to be taking precedence over so many challenges that we have in the community that we see as providers of home and community-based services for the aging. And so, as the chairman mentioned, you see some of these prominent numbers about our growing population that is aging. It seems to me that the department it's almost that it's too big to focus on both vulnerable populations with their utmost. And so I have to tell you, just to make a comment first, I'm thrilled to see a bill that would break out aging so that it could really be given the prominence that it needs and deserves. But so my question for you, and I guess I don't know to what degree you can speak for the department, but is it not true that there are things in the aging world, when I think about protective services and other things in our community, it seems to me there are things that we're missing because we don't have a real focus on aging, because we've had so many issues that relate to children and so many things that need to be corrected as it relates to children as a state. Is that fair?
I think I can say that there are significant differences between the way the Child Welfare Agency operates and the Adult Protective Services Agency operates with regard to how we protect children and how we protect older adults and adults with disabilities. The child welfare is largely a legal process, and there's lots of infrastructure in place to help protect children. We have foster homes, we have all the child welfare services that are available. And in the aging world and adults with disabilities, there isn't that infrastructure in place, so we're trying to build that. And a lot of times there's a lot of confusion about what's available to vulnerable adults versus children. And the assumption is made that the same resources are available for vulnerable adults as there are for children, and that's simply not the case. We work daily to try to develop resources, and we work differently than the Child Protective Services agencies do, in that we're heavily dependent upon community organizations, nonprofit organizations to be that resource for us.
if I could follow up, Dr. Balot, is it fair to say then that infrastructure, would it be easier to build that infrastructure we need to protect vulnerable adults in a separate agency, as is proposed here, than the current bureaucracy we have today?
I don't know that I can say whether it would be easier one way or the other.
Okay.
Representative Jaspers.
So Dr. Balot, how do you spell your name? Just
B-U-L-O-T.
B-U-L-O-T. That's what I asked.
Yeah.
I'm just now remembering how to say it right. But just I think it's one of those questions we always ask it, and people want to know: is this revenue neutral? You know, is this split going to, will be additional funding required?
I don't think there'd be additional funding required. The way we operate right now, our agency operates on less than 2% of our administrative budget. We're allowed by the Old Americans Act to operate up to 5%, and we could easily see that there's actually possibly some efficiencies to be gained if we're able to utilize that full 5% administrative cost. But what we've looked at, that we've been asked to look at so far, it appears to be neutral.
Thank you.
Now, the board members get a per diem, which is same as all other board members in the state of Georgia. It talks about they're going to appoint a director. Is that a paid position or is that a volunteer position?
Right now, the director is a paid position.
Okay, so this person they're appointing is going to cost us money. So
yes,
is that into that administrative fee already? That you're talking?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
already.
Yeah, the
that's
entire-
already in there.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Good, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like for Dr. Balot to tell us about his background in this.
Okay, my background, I'm an applied gerontologist. My undergraduate degrees were in psychology, gerontology, computer science, and I enjoyed reading, so I minored in English. My master's and PhD is in gerontology with an emphasis in statistics and research methods and public policy and aging services. I was an associate tenured professor of gerontology at the University of Louisiana, where I served in that capacity for about 7 years. I was the department head of gerontology, sociology, political science, research director of the Institute of Gerontology, and was fairly successful, I'd say, in that role. I think I was the youngest person to receive tenure at my university. I was the only gerontologist in the state of Louisiana, and when Governor Jindal became elected governor of Louisiana, I got a call. My university president got a call, and I shortly thereafter began working for Governor Jindal, and was in that role for several years. And when my predecessor here retired, I got a call, and my wife's family is all from Georgia, so her response was, "When are we moving?" So I've been here now for 5 years as Director of Aging Services for the state of Georgia. We have been very successful, I think, as a state unit on aging, promoting the policies that we need in order to address an aging population. So I guess I'll throw in that I think I'm the longest serving state director in the country right now.
Your wife never got
kinda
sold
scary.
on. Your wife wasn't sold on the crawfish, huh?
She enjoyed the crawfish. Her family spread across Columbus, Peachtree City, and Houston. So she's a lot closer here. We're saving a lot of money on driving back and forth.
Anybody else have any questions?
One last question. Dr. Balot, there have been a lot of cuts over, of course, the last several years during the Great Recession. I don't know that you can answer this. Have the cuts in your department been fairly well divided between aging and the other side, and the children's side? Because I can only speak to, again, what I know. The folks that work for me have noticed a lot of loss of manpower, a lot of loss of seniority, people that really knew deeply programs. Have the cuts been consistent with both sides of the house, if you will, or has one side suffered more cuts than the other in the current department?
I think the recession has been very difficult on the entire department, and difficult decisions had to be made as far as what resources went where. There have been several years where the Division of Aging took some significant budget reductions, and luckily for many of those years, our advocates were able to restore some of that funding for us to allow us to continue to operate. But I think, we're getting to the point where those decisions don't have to be made anymore. But there were tough decisions that had to be made across the department.
One final question I've got. Looks like we're transferring the same job duties, same responsibilities, everything from one department to another. Why are we expecting different results? What's the prime thing that says just because we're no longer as Department of, where were we, Human Services, we're going to do better?
I'm not in a position to speculate on why the transfer to DCH. What I can say is our partnerships and how we exist right now. Outside of the Older Americans Act, about 90% of our work is with the Department of Community Health. We administer the CCSP waiver. We're administratively responsible for both CCSP and SOURCE, at least on paper. We administer the Balancing Incentive Program for the Department of Community Health. We work very closely with them in the area of adult protective services on a lot of the personal care home relocations that you've heard a lot about that this committee has looked at some of the legislation on. So that's my, if I could talk about the relationship we have with DCH, that's 90% of our work is with that particular agency.
It's just a better fit, in other words.
It could potentially be a better fit.
Okay. Anybody? I think that's all the questions we have for you right now. We have Vicki Johnson, Georgia Council on Aging. Go ahead and state your name, even though I said who you are.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about this very important bill. I'm Vicki Johnson, and I am a volunteer member appointed to serve on the Georgia Council on Aging. And I also serve as the legislative chair. So I have been very involved over several years in the development of this bill, and have worked closely with other aging advocate groups in fashioning this bill. We feel that the Division of Aging Services is the only division in its department not connected with the welfare of children. And the commissioners, several in a row now, have stated very clearly that their first priority in their focus is on the welfare of children. We think that the needs of seniors are quite different in many respects from the needs of children, and we don't think that we can do justice to both groups under a single administrative umbrella. We concur that it makes great logical sense that the unit that administers aging service be closely aligned with the Department of Community Health, which administers so many of the very high cost services to seniors in Georgia. And so those are the two main points that we would present in favor of your consideration of this bill.
Right.
And I'd be happy to entertain questions.
Anybody have any questions for Vicki? Seeing none, thank you for your time. And we've got Kathy Simpson from the Alzheimer Association Georgia chapter.
My name is Kathy Simpson. I'm the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for the Alzheimer's Association Georgia chapter. We appreciate the opportunity to share with you our perspective today. One of the most exciting things about this bill is that it allows, or it ensures, that board oversight of the new Department of Aging and Adults will have representatives on it who are professionals in the field of aging and who themselves are aging and perhaps taking advantage of the existing services. We also are excited because it affords the opportunity for the Alzheimer's and related dementia state plan that is a part of the Division of Aging Services oversight would then have a better focus specifically on aging. Right now, there are over 130,000 individuals in Georgia estimated to have Alzheimer's. We know that over half of the individuals living with that disease have not yet seen a physician and have not yet been diagnosed. By 2025, that number will rise to over 190,000. Right now, that represents over 500,000 caregivers. Right now, there are not sufficient services to handle the needs of those individuals living with dementia or the caregivers they represent. Women play an immediate role in the care of those with Alzheimer's. Over half of the individuals served are women. When they are caregiving for someone and they themselves develop the disease, difficulty arises in the care placement of those individuals. Average per person Medicare spending for those with Alzheimer's and other dementias is 3 times higher than those without these conditions, and the average per person Medicaid spending of the same population is 19 times higher. We've begun the planning process, we've begun the implementation of the plan, and we need stronger leadership and stronger community involvement and cooperation and collaboration to make sure that the dementia population in Georgia is served. 1 in every 3 seniors who dies in a given year has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or another dementia. The aging population in Georgia is growing exponentially, as is the Alzheimer's population. We feel we must structure state government in order to be effective, efficient, and cost beneficial to Georgia's taxpayers. Repositioning of the Division of Aging Services to the Department of Community Health can ensure the most cost beneficial, efficient delivery of services to Georgia's aging population now and for years to come. Thank you. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Simpson? Don't see any. Thank you for your time. Steve Neff. I don't think we can have a committee meeting if you don't speak, can we? Isn't that a rule? Is that on there?
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Steve Neff. I am here representing the Georgia Association of Community Care Providers, but I also have the privilege of representing the Assisted Living Association of Georgia as well, both of which would be very much concerned about this legislation. We have the provider groups that I represent. For instance, the Georgia Association of Community Care Providers is about 350 or so providers in that group. We provide the services out in the community in various ways to support aging folks. We have supported this bill for several years and in different forms, and we continue to support the bill. I believe that I won't repeat everything that's been said here, but I believe the most important part is that it's just a better fit for us. I believe that separating out the aging piece from the children's piece is just clearly a better fit. I believe we can get more attention that way. I believe that as you look at the numbers at the beginning of this bill, it's a crisis that we're going to have to work on. We thank the chairman for his work on this, his work on the Alzheimer's state plan as well. And we would ask from the groups that I represent to please support the bill and allow it to move forward, and we can have further discussion on it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't believe I shared any new information, but we do support the bill.
Representative Bell has a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Hope you are.
I am. Thanks for being here. Just a quick question. You said that this bill has come up in several different forms. I've only been here since 2009. What has been the opposition in the past, or is it just getting it through the process?
I believe it was getting through the process. I believe there has been, I hate to speak, but I do believe there's been issues with whether or not you were trying to create a new agency, create a new department, and that's certainly not the case in this bill. And we also believe that this would be a revenue neutral. If you move the positions over directly from one to the other, that's a better fit. We believe it would be revenue neutral. I believe that's been some of the discussion, and I believe just the timing wasn't quite right. We've had a lot of focus on children's issues in our state, as there should be, but we firmly believe it's time to bring aging to the forefront. And I believe this will help do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Mr. Neff?
Thank you,
That's
sir.
it. That's all I've got signed up to speak. Is there anybody else out there that would like to share with the committee? I don't see any. So, Mr. Chairman, you have the last word.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I would certainly appreciate a due pass on the legislation. If and when you get a motion to do pass. I've got that amendment that we need to add to the bill. We need to change the bill, but other than that, that's all we've got to say today on the legislation. Thank you.
All right. Representative Jaspers, you got a question?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion
Go ahead.
that we move due pass on House Bill 86.
As amended?
As amended, yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Rick, has been told by the Legislative Council, we need a motion to amend first, to pass the amendment to add to the bill, and then we'll pass the bill.
Say it. What I need to say. You want me to make the amendment? Okay, we're on new territory here.
All right.
So we need to make a motion to amend line 281 where it says human to community, and line 282 from services to health.
All right. We have
Is
a
that correct,
motion.
Chairman Benton?
We have a motion to amend HB 86, line 281 and 282 by making those two word changes. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment passes. Now, Rick.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that do pass House Bill 86. Thank you, ma'am. As amended.
All right, there's a motion to pass House Bill 86 as amended. Is there a second? Second. Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing House Bill 86 as amended say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Mr. Chairman, do we have any other business? All right, does anybody on the committee have any business that they want to bring at this time? Seeing none, this committee meeting is adjourned.